Ealing Soup Kitchen are a Christian faith-based charity which has been set up in St John's Church, Matlock Lane, Ealing, to feed and help the vulnerable and homeless since 1973. To talk more about this and what they will be doing this Christmas to help the homeless during the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm joined by Andrew Mcleay, manager from Ealing Soup Kitchen. Andrew, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
Very well, thanks, Andrew. Andrew, just give us an insight into what have you seen during this pandemic, and has there been an increase in the need to help others, to feed them and also to help the homeless during the COVID-19?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the need has increased exponentially. So we've seen more homeless people at risk. We've seen refugees, young mothers, families and children, people who have lost their jobs, all sorts of different types of people in society that are coming and using our soup kitchens that primarily wouldn't have needed to. So that's been quite horrific and quite sad. And I think it's become to the point now where it's almost unmanageable.
Wow. As a faith-based charity, how hard has it been to talk about God during this COVID-19?
In some ways it's been easier, in other ways it's been harder, because I think now, because everything is takeaway and you're out on the street, it's a lot harder to actually talk to people about faith while they're in a queue. But it does give you some opportunities to pray for people, because there is a level of desperation there that perhaps wouldn't be there ordinarily.
How do you normally evangelize, and especially to the homeless and the vulnerable during this time? You say you sometimes talk to them in the queue?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's about trying to find out what's going on with them and how they ended up coming to the soup kitchen, and how we can best help their needs. So we're not just a food charity. We also help with, practical stuff like housing, and we can help them with advocacy and help them with haircuts or with GP care or dentists, whatever really they need. So I guess we'll go around and try and find out their practical stuff, and then from there we can build a faith-based relationship with them, and then if needs be, we can kind of just reassure them that regardless of what's going on, God is there for them.
What do you think you'll be doing differently this Christmas compared to previous Christmases?
So previously, I think we would have had people inside, and they would have been kind of warm and been able to tell their stories a little bit more. Now that they're outside and in the queue, it's a little bit more challenging. I think what we'll try and do is bring Christmas to them where they're at. So it'll be much more street-based, which in some ways is, I think, maybe more Jesus-focused, because Jesus was more about getting out there rather than going inside buildings. So we're going to try and get some carol singers and some musicians to come out to them and play with them. Some of the people who come to our soup kitchen are actually good musicians themselves, so they can join in. We'll have, non-alcoholic mulled wine. We'll try and impart, what Christmas is about for us as well, and about the message of Jesus in that line, without it being too garish or scary for them. So hopefully we can impart that and the love of Jesus during COVID without it being something that's particularly scary.
Oh, that's amazing, Andrew. And can you share any particular testimonies of any lives that you've witnessed that have been transformed, especially through the Ealing Soup Kitchen?
Yeah, there's a guy who has been coming for a little while called Clive, and we managed to get him housed. He lost his housing just before lockdown, but we did manage to get him in. I think it was the day of lockdown, we managed to find somewhere else for him. And he had become a Christian not long before, and the thing he wanted to do every single time he came was just sort of read the Bible together and pray a little bit, because he was so worried about his circumstances. And then when we managed to get him a place, it was kind of, like this proper answer to prayer. And as a result of all of that, he was so worried about the mistakes and things that he'd made in his lives. But we just kind of kept reassuring him. And then his daughter and his son from a previous marriage and a previous life even, had kind of appeared, and he'd managed to reconnect with them just after the first lockdown had come out. So he actually got to meet them for the first time in about 35 years. And for him, it was just so special, and he knows that is kind of a total God thing, because he doesn't really know anything about technology, but he just knew that God was there and God wanted to build relationships. And so now he's got a great relationship with his kids that he didn't have. And so he's so thankful.
Give us some advice to our viewers watching us today is how can they help the lonely or reach out to the lonely during this time?
I think one of the best ways really is to pray about it yourself. And so, because I think half the battle with homelessness is that kind of fear of, oh, you know, are they going to take advantage of me, or are they going to yell at me, or is there going to be some sort of problem? And I guess there is a sense in which sometimes we feel as though there's nothing we can do, we're powerless to it. But that's what's so amazing about God, is that he gives us this ability to be able to help people regardless of our own circumstances and our own, like, you know, ability. Or maybe there's someone in your community that you don't know and you know might be struggling. It's just once you start that conversation, then it's a lot easier, and you can learn their name and they can learn yours, and it'll just flow, I think.
Excellent. Andrew Mcleay, manager of Ealing Soup Kitchen, thanks so much for joining us, and happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas to you too.